So good morning, thank you, or good afternoon, I should say, and thank you for coming. Today is a subject that we've been hitting on as a caucus, and the individuals that stand with me today in our caucus have been fighting for this for years now. I'm happy to see that the Democratic legislators in the House and in the Senate and the governor's office have now uttered the word affordability in this state. But frankly, it's not lost on me, and it shouldn't be lost to the general public. The Democrats have had a stranglehold on this building for the better part of 30 years. They've led us to the third highest income taxes in the country. They've led us to the third highest electric rates in the country. They've led us to a point where by most metrics we have the highest reliance on property tax in the country, and now all of a sudden they're worried about affordability. The Republicans, since at least my tenure and everyone's tenure that stands behind me, have been talking about affordability and cutting taxes and cutting electric rates from day one, and will continue calling on that. And we're hoping now that they would join us in this plea to actually address affordability and join us in our efforts to reduce taxes. And so this also stems on what the governor has proposed. We all remember about a week ago when he gave his address, and his answer to the public on the third highest electric rates, the third highest taxes, number one in property tax. His answer to that was, here's a $200 campaign bribe for you to take and walk away and pretend there's not a problem here. What we're saying as a caucus is that's not enough. The people on Main Street, the people in our districts, the men and women of the working class and middle class of the people of this state no longer should be looked away from. We should be speaking with them and actually proposing things that help them. We have a $4 billion plus rainy day fund. The people of this state essentially been overtaxed by that much over this period of time. And it's about time that we return the money back to them. The Democrats in this building, in the House and the Senate, are committed to changing and modifying the volatility cap. What we're saying here today is, if you're going to modify that volatility cap once again, return it back to the taxpayer. And that's our plan here today. We have a plan that will offer $1.5 billion in tax relief consistently, structurally, today and moving forward. Unlike the governor's plan that says here's $200 one time and walk away, what we're saying is here's $1.5 billion year after year after year that we're going to provide the hardworking people of the state because they deserve it. We are in an affordability crisis in this state, and their Senate Republicans are here to address that issue and make your lives back at home a little bit easier to afford an unaffordable state here in Connecticut. So it's $1 billion in tax relief. It's a financial reimbursement on your car taxes through the income tax. So for some families, this could literally mean $3,000 or $4,000 a year in tax relief we're providing them. And we could do it right now. And we're asking Democrats to join us in this effort to provide that relief. That's also coupled with the fact that we, once again, are the party crying for the governor and the Democratic Party to do something about our electric rates. I just had a bill come in, well over $1,000 just in my household. I can't imagine all the other households in this state that have opened up that bill and have said to themselves, how am I possibly going to pay this? It is about time we do something about this. $200 is not an answer. Fixing the electric bills is the answer. And we're here to offer that plan today. Let's finally get rid of that public benefit charge, or at least move significant aspects of it off of baked into your electric bill to make it a little bit cheaper. And let's make long-term solutions and stop subsidizing these Green New Deal initiatives that force our ratepayers to pay far more than they're paying in other states. It's unacceptable. Something has to be done. And so I'm proud to stand here with my senators here today. The next person I'm going to turn it over to go a little more detail into these significant affordability crisis measures is Senator Fazio.
Thank you, Senator Harding. All across our state, people are hurting. They're struggling under the weight of sky-high taxes, electric bills, and cost of living. And instead of leading a way to greener economic pastures, the present administration and Democratic supermajority has only exacerbating the cost of living crisis over the last 8 years. Over the last 8 years, this administration and state legislature on party lines has raised taxes by about $1 billion annually. They've presided over an enormous increase in electric rates, including an increase in the public benefits charges over those years. They've continued to concentrate power in the state capital, impose more and more unfunded mandates on our municipalities, which has driven up the cost of property taxes. We are not here as Senate Republicans simply to curse the darkness that has been created. We're here to light a candle and present a positive alternative for the state of Connecticut, to create an affordable Connecticut for all of our residents, to create an economy that works for everyone, that creates jobs, that brings investment and families back to our state after years of fleeing. We are truly here to turn the U-Haul trucks around, make our state affordable, and grow our state economy. The first proposal to do that is the largest income tax cut in state history. It would deliver roughly $1,600 of income tax relief every year on a permanent basis to middle-class families making around $100,000 per year. We can do that in the short run through adjustments to the volatility cap that our colleagues on the other side of the aisle are already proposing to make in order to spend more money. We believe that it's the responsibility of this state government to be tightening its belt, not forcing taxpayers to tighten their belts further. In the long run, we can finance it by simply limiting the growth of government, not even reducing the size of government in absolute terms, which perhaps is what we should be doing. But this is eminently doable. And it's, I think, of the utmost importance we cut middle class and working class income taxes by these significant levels, because that will generate more economic growth, more investment, more pay raises for state workers and people working in the state of Connecticut. So our $1 billion middle class and working class income tax cut is a top priority for Senate Republicans. Second, we need to pass energy reform, and we need to do it now. Eliminate the public benefits tax and reduce electric rates by 15 or 20% for the average family who is hurting. There is so much pork stuffed in our public benefits tax that it would boggle the mind. Over 50 different government programs passed by the legislature and the governor over many years. Over the next several years, we could eliminate some of those programs, cut others, and fund the most necessary ones through the normal budget process in order to provide relief for our residents. We are proposing a property tax cap, not dissimilar from has been passed in other states and has been successful at limiting the growth of property taxes in other states and cutting them over the long run. We would pair that with an effort to reduce hundreds of the 1,400 unfunded mandates that this state has imposed upon our towns and cities that has driven Connecticut's property taxes to be among the 5 highest of any state in the country. And we'll continue to push for other relief for middle class and working class families, including an elimination of occupational licensing fees for hundreds of thousands of Connecticut workers. You know, if we are to be generous for a moment, we appreciate that the administration has joined in our multi-year efforts to reduce these fees. We don't claim complete ownership of good ideas, but we're glad that they have followed the efforts that we began many years ago to reduce some of those fees. We can cut the payroll tax that Democrats imposed in 2019 and keep that fund in balance. That is a modest proposal that would provide hundreds of dollars of relief for families into the future. And we need to expand access, competition, and choice for patients in this state to stop the spiral of health insurance costs that have made health insurance and health care in Connecticut much more affordable than in other states, including allowing for association health plans. One of the things we hear most often from our small businesses is the out-of-control health care costs. They deserve an ability to choose, and their employees deserve the ability to choose more affordable health care, while also reforming other red tape in our state government, including the certificate of need process and other licensing processes that drive up the cost of care. Again, We are here to offer solutions. The cost of living in Connecticut is too damn high. Middle class and working class families have been hurting for far too long. They deserve better. They deserve leadership. We are here to provide that. Not just curse the darkness, not just criticize the other side, but to provide real, lasting solutions that represent a change in direction in this state government. It's about time. I'd like to turn it over to Senator Sampson for his remarks as well.
Thank you, Senator. Before anyone dismisses this as just another political press conference, let me be clear. There are real lives at stake, real people, and the decision is about whether or not they can afford to live a life and have a future in the state of Connecticut. Almost every day I hear from residents back home in my district. A lot of them are seniors, a lot of them are veterans, and many of them are concerned about what's going on in our state. These are people that did everything right. They worked hard, they played by the rules, they were responsible for themselves, they paid their bills and their taxes. They asked nothing from the government. These are proud, responsible people. And today, they are being forced into impossible choices. Do I pay my electric bill or do I pay my property taxes? Do I service my furnace or do I buy my medications? Do I stay in the home that I worked hard for, earned, and paid for? Or do I finally give up and leave the state I call home, the state that I love? That is not a failure of personal responsibility, and it's certainly not a failure of those individuals. That is a failure of government. And let's be absolutely clear about how we got here. The Democrats have controlled this state legislature and have had every lever of power in government in Connecticut for decades. They own it all. And what do we have to show for it? As was already mentioned, we are the top 3 in the nation for taxes, top 3 in the nation for the highest electric bills. We have record high property taxes, and it's one of the worst states in the whole country to do business. None of this happened by accident. So that the idea that the people who created this actual mess are now going to go around and tell us that they are going to fix the affordability problem in Connecticut is laughable. And frankly, it's disgraceful. Because their focus has never been made on making Connecticut stronger, more affordable, or better for the future. It's been about growing government and turning working people into dependents on the system. My constituents do not want handouts. They want dignity. They want to keep more of what they earn and afford to live here without being punished for doing the right thing. And that's exactly what our Republican plan does. Permanent tax relief, lower electric bills, ending the car tax for people who need a vehicle just to live and work. Connecticut has been made unaffordable by design, by terrible choices made year after year by one-party Democratic rule. Republicans are offering a different path: less government, lower costs, more freedom, because the people of Connecticut deserve better. I'll turn it back over to Senator Harding.
Senator Ciccarello.
Thank you. I know I'm sure you probably couldn't see me behind there, Rob. So we're here today with a plan, and we're in a crisis. We're in an affordability crisis. We hear it from our constituents. And we've been talking about this for years, how expensive it is, and all of the areas that our constituents are talking to us about and explaining how expensive it is. And the majority here in Connecticut are starting to pay attention as well. They're talking about affordability, but they're talking about DC. And, you know, it seems like someone stubs their toe here in Connecticut and they blame DC. We are Connecticut legislators. We need to focus on what's going on here and what we actually have control over. And probably for as long as I've been alive, the Democrat has been in control, except for when it was tied in the Senate in 17. And good things came out of there. Our guardrails put us in a position to provide this much needed affordability plan. And we didn't just come up with these issues that we have here today. We didn't say the electric bills are too high. We didn't say it's too expensive to do business here in Connecticut. Our constituents, and clearly the polls and all of the data that shows we are going in the wrong direction really fast when it comes to affordability. This plan is very detailed. It is not a gimmick. It's not a one-time credit. It's a comprehensive plan. It talks about income tax credit, property tax when it comes to cars, reducing our property taxes. It's common sense. If we continue to put cost on our town, they're going to come to the members of the town to get that money. And we see it over and over again. And this plan addresses that. And we are taking action, and we hope that we will get support and we will be able to provide this much needed tax credit to address the problem that our constituents are feeling. Thank you.
We also have Senator Martin, Senator Perillo here, if they want to say.
Actually, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Steve, thanks. You know, in listening to what has been said here today, I think back to what was said last week by the governor. And I don't think you could have two different visions for the future of Connecticut. Today we've heard hundreds of dollars in tax savings related to vehicle taxes, thousands in additional savings on property taxes and income taxes, not just once, not just 1 month, not just one check in the mail, but for years. That is how we make Connecticut more affordable. In contrast, the governor, who by all accounts, and we all know this, if you know him, nice guy. Nice guy. But the governor's $200 table scraps a couple of weeks before the election are not affordability. This plan here today, with thousands of dollars in savings year over year over year, is that affordability that Connecticut needs. It is really a tale of two futures for Connecticut, and they are extraordinarily different. And I believe, and I think the residents of the state of Connecticut believe, that these are the kinds of solutions that we need. They are long-lasting, and they make a difference not just once, but for generations.
Senator Martin.
I've been at the Capitol now for it's my 12th year, and it's the same song and dance from 12 years ago. You know, the state of Connecticut is unaffordable. Back then, it still is now. I find it somewhat, and I agree with Senator Sampson, laughable that the other side of the aisle, the majority, would take ownership that we are going to make Connecticut now affordable. Well, you've had, since I've been here, you've had 12 years and you have not. You know, the policies that come out of this building, I think you all here in this room, all of you media, should be looking at all the policies that have been enacted in these past decades and see how much that has contributed to the unaffordability of the state of Connecticut. I laugh not only at that, but the you know, housing, to grab housing as a sort of a flag. We're going to make affordable housing here in the state of Connecticut. That is totally laughable because, if anything, and where government is involved in funding the program for housing in particular, it is completely unaffordable in itself. The amount of money that they dole out, that they provide in grants or some type of, you know, a grant after owning it for 40 years, it's laughable because we're paying top dollar to construct, to buy the pieces of property, as well as the back end of it, and that is to help with subsidize the housing through rental programs or whatever. So, you know, look at the policies that are coming out of this building and have come out of this building, and you will find out where those policies have started from and who has been in control that has led us to this point today and the last decades of unaffordability here in the state of Connecticut.
Thank you. Yep. Senator.
Good afternoon, or good morning. I guess it's good afternoon. I just wanted to say that I want to throw something out to the governor's office. If you believe that you want to provide real relief for the middle class, for the residents of Connecticut, whether it's a single mom, a starting teacher, a new police officer, a retired person, a veteran, look at this plan and adopt it. We are tired of hearing about these small little incremental steps that you are trying to make Connecticut affordable. Not only is it laughable, it can't be done overnight. This plan is long-term, it's sustainable, and it will make a real and significant difference for every individual living in the state of Connecticut. all of us on both sides hear from our constituents, electricity is unaffordable. I can't afford my health care. I can't afford my prescription drugs. My property taxes are out of control. I can tell you I sold my house because my property taxes were obscene. It's not sustainable. And if you really want to make a difference, adopt this plan. Do it not for the Senate Republicans, but do it for the citizens of Connecticut.
So that summarizes it, and I think Senator Perillo said it very well in saying that this is a tale of two plans. You have the governor and Democrats' plan, which is $200 walk away, pretend there's not a problem here, in one of the most unaffordable states in the country, and modifying our guardrails and volatility cap to the point where we're just going to spend more on organizations well connected to individuals and politicians here in Hartford, spend more on bureaucracy and funneling our bureaucracy. And I just think one important thing to note, this governor and this Democratic Party here in Connecticut over the past 2 years have modified the volatility cap and spent around the spending cap to the tune of almost $3 billion. And what do you have to show back at home for that? Nothing. You still have the third highest elect rates in the country. You still have the third highest tax rates in the country. You still have some of the highest property tax rates in the country. You have nothing to show for it. And I think the difference here is us with the Senate Republican plan, we have something to show for putting money back in the hard-earned pockets of the people of this state. That's where it belongs, not in funneling more government spending. That's what the Democrats' alternative is.